So first, let's dive into really the scandal that OSU is dealing with right now. That is the resignation of the last president, Ted Carter Jr. Obviously, they appointed a new one last week. Ravi Bellamkonda is the newest president of the Ohio State University. He was the former provost. But let's go back to what we know about Ted Carter Jr. and what led up to that resignation. So this all started last Saturday, and that is when there was a weekend Board of Trustees meeting, and Carter submitted his resignation. It was then accepted on Sunday and then announced to the public that he was voluntarily stepping down. The university said it was all over, that Carter disclosed an inappropriate relationship and offered to resign from his position. Now, what exactly that inappropriate relationship is still a big subject of the investigation from the university. We don't know exactly what it is. The university hasn't really told us what all went into that. But we do know that a lot of this revolves around a podcast. It's called The Call Out, hosted by Chrysanthi Vlachos. And the podcast's focus is really getting veterans hooked up with jobs in the energy and AI sector.
And obviously, Ted Carter was a veteran, and he had made multiple appearances on this podcast.
He was a frequent flyer on that podcast and co-hosted several of them with Vlachos.
So we're learning more. We have the documents. I got them right here, guys. Right here. WOSU written on them. So we're learning more about the funds that are a part of this and what was going to make that podcast possible, all the production costs, things like that. So here is the WOSU production agreement we have. And this outlines the 50 episodes that Chrysanthi was about to produce. And how much she was going to pay WOSU. And it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
$93,716.
And this would have
for
used
50 episodes.
WOSU staff for basically all of the full production value.
Graphics,
like 3 camera shoots.
Hard drives.
Right. And she was only responsible for basically setting up the guests and the time slotting.
Right. And this is dated for June 26th of 2025.
Yeah.
So this was almost, year ago, basically, when this was signed. So then this also then ties in Jobs Ohio, who we do know paid her money to produce some of the episodes. And she only produced one of those episodes.
Right. So Jobs Ohio contracted with Vlachos for $15,000 per episode, a total of $60,000 for 4 as a pilot series. Now, this is where Jobs Ohio gets involved, is that they entered into this agreement that, okay, $15,000 for each one of these 4 episodes, but only one ever got produced. And so Jobs Ohio's now like, okay, what happened to the other $45,000? And according to their statement that came out last week, now they are exploring what they're calling clawback measures. That means we want our money back, and we've got to figure out how to do it. So that's where that is. Now, we've also gotten a reaction from former Ohio Governor John Kasich, because he was, really a leading force behind forming Jobs Ohio in Ohio during his administration. And he said, some of these revelations are disappointing, and that he worries that this could, detract Jobs Ohio from its original mission. And he hopes that, whatever comes out of this gets Jobs Ohio back onto its initial mission that it was.
Yeah, it's a lot of money that was that was allocated to her. So again, it's like, where's that $45,000?
Yeah.
So this investigation is obviously ongoing.
Yeah. And so this all came out when somebody that was from outside of the university, or at least outside of the internal situation, came to the Board of Trustees and said, hey, with this concern. And that's when the Board of Trustees approached Ted Carter about it. And that's when all of this started coming to light. Now, kind of looking back, Ted Carter had only been in the president's seat at the Ohio State University for a little over 2 years. He was announced by the Board of Trustees in the fall of 23, taking over that position in January of 24. And I sat down with him in January of 24 to talk about what he could bring to that university, because this was a departure for OSU in terms of where they pick presidents from. Carter is not from the academia world. I mean, he had 38 years of military experience behind him. And so this was, kind of outside of that realm. And it was the big question there was, okay, what can you bring to that university? And he likened really running part of the Navy to running a university, kind of dealing with, different things that can pop up. But he came in with the idea that he was going to do what he could to make the Ohio State University better than it already was. He agreed that the Ohio State University is a top-tier institution, but we could continue pushing that forward. Now we get to today, and the same question has been asked to now President Ravi Bellamkonda, who is back in the academia sphere.
Huge academic background. I mean,
incredibly decorated.
Very smart.
And he's been asked that question of, okay, so now that you're coming in the midst of really another scandal for the university, how do you gain back that trust? And, I think his answer to that was basically, let's get back to what we've always done well. So, of course, this is an ongoing investigation. Nobody has been charged with anything.
Yes, we want to make that very clear.
Yes, nobody's been charged or really implicated in anything. But,
it seems like each week we're kind of learning more as we continue to look into it.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And again, we want to state no one knows the degree of inappropriate relationship that has unfolded at the university is claiming.